and there have been a couple of drops of rain just as we woke up, but it looks like it has lifted, so let's hope that we're going to see some wonderful things this morning, and Mark can check off a few more on his list. I'm currently standing on 31, Seb's on 35, Mark is on 17, but he is 2 drives behind, so I'm sure he'll catch up.
Good morning, welcome to Jimmer Game Reserve this morning. My name is Mark, Seb is on camera and Tara is in final control, and this is our morning safari, and it's a stark contrast to the last couple of days with an overcast sky. There's a bit of a thick mist. In fact, it's this kind of mist that is kind of wanting to be rain. We've had a few drops, but we'll see how it goes. At the moment there's just a strange humidity in the air. It's not a warm humidity, it's actually quite cool. It's quite a nice breeze coming in from the south. And we're about to head out and go and find some fun things today. If we're going to see them, this is going to be a good test to see what we see when the weather changes so dramatically. But who knows, we might be lucky. Just looking around the open area at the moment, we've got all these impala around me. None of them have had youngsters yet. But let's go. I want to go to the dam. There have been things shouting at the dam, and we'll see what we can find down there. I haven't heard the baboons, but I've heard the geese. Might just be that the geese are shouting at other geese. Guinea fowl were making a little bit of a noise earlier. I wanted to show you something else. I'm going to wait for a car to come by. Or is he going to switch the pump on? Morning, Lucas. Got a call. Okay, I wanted to go back and show you something else quickly. But, yeah, it hasn't been flattened yet. Number of things that'll be happening today because of the change in weather. There's a change in atmospheric pressure, there's a change in humidity, and that little mound of sand in the road is one of the signs that we will see. In fact, there are two. There's one, the first one, that's the second one. And there's the first one. Two different species of ant that are starting to make provisions for some moisture. And they build either a cone, as in that one, a cone-shaped dome, or they build a crater around their hole. So what happens is when the rains come, the rain flattens that sand and creates a cap on top of the hole, and this stops the water from going in. That's what I think. My interpretation of it. That's what I've noticed. And ants don't glue sand together like termites do, so it's just piled grain upon grain. Ant hills. The termites have this wonderful cement where they are able to glue things, and the termites are also busy because it's getting wet and damp. They're able to forage close to the surface, if not on the surface, creating little tunnels. But these are probably in preparation for releasing reproductives, creating little chimneys. We'll see what else we can find. It looks like, well, that is an indicator that there's weather coming in. And apart from seeing the weather that's coming in, these were all before the weather changed, probably when it was still a starry sky last night. Ants would have done that yesterday. They don't work much at night. Unless they're nocturnal species of ant, like the sugar ants. Cam, nice to hear from you. Talking about a bird at the waterhole. Well, now if I talk about it, then I can't use it. I can get it on my list another day, I suppose. Actually, Diane mentioned that it was there. Thanks, Diane. Cam's asking about the name of the Natal Franklin. There's two names, Natal Franklin or Natal Spurfowl. Well, this is where it gets interesting, because the old name was Natal Franklin. I'm still not even sure which of the Franklins became Spurfowl and which of them stayed Franklins, but I think the larger ones became Spurfowl. Very much like a domestic chickens, the males have spurs on their legs. So both names are correct, one is just more correct than the other. Sounds like something out of George Orwell. All animals are equal, except some are more equal than others. Both names are correct, except one is more correct than the other. The Natal Spurfowl, I think, is the new name. It falls in line with the bird names, international bird names, or the... Let's put it this way. In order to limit confusion about bird names, ornithologists created a lot of confusion by changing a lot of the names. But internationally it has South African colloquial, I wouldn't say colloquial, but different to the names recognized internationally, like spurfowls and spurwings, and well, just we'll see along as we go along. In fact, on the list, on the checklist, I think there are a number of birds you'll see that have the old names printed next to them. No, they got their new names printed next to them. No, they got no sequence whatsoever. I see with one bird it's got the old name first and the new name second, with other birds the other way around. Old name and then new name. Yeah, old name then new name. Give you an example. The three-streak chagra names. When you had, if you were seeing birds in South Africa and then seeing birds in East Africa, where there's a fair amount of, or there are a fair amount of South African species, Southern African species, mingled in with the East African species. But they had different names, so it was getting confusing. I'm still confused, though. Not confused, just still getting my head around the changes. nobody out here to watch. Morning station's getting mobile.
Morning, Mark. I'm trying Barman West.
Thanks, guys. So no cats at the dam last night, huh? There's a track there or something. Let me just go up this road a little bit. Maybe we'll just go up to the open area and turn around. Alright, let's get things rolling. I don't think I've got those birds in the road. But I want to stop and listen anyway, so I might as well point the camera somewhere. Morning text, nothing so far. Able coming down Western Gary Main, and I'm near Gary Dam.
Okay, got it. Thanks. I'll try to check Lois Road and see if it's active.
Good thing. Do you know who's driving?
I'm driving what?
On top of Shadulu's.
Don't know. Someone drive on Shadulu then?
Yeah, you'll see on quarantine, there are two Shadulus, somebody's been driving on top of them.
Contact quarantine? Okay, I really don't know.
Oops. So my first ID for the day. My head gets in the way when I try and look at my screen. My head gets in the way when I try and look at my screen. Heard Distant Lion last night, but I still think they must have been up on Whippleshoek, maybe even Manaleti. However, it might be worthwhile going to check on Whippleshoek Cutline. This side, nothing. Now, we did have one of our little girls, or I suppose could have been Shivambalana, but there was a leopard around last night. See if I can find some tracks. Okay, I heard maybe every third or fourth word of that as you were cutting out. Interesting question coming in about pythons, I think. We can try that again, Tara, please. I'm copying you fine. It's just that it's almost as though somebody's switching it off while you're talking because it's completely cutting out. But try. Maybe it's the mic wire or something. So far, so good. Good morning, Linda. Welcome to our drive. Linda's asking, since the weather's warmed up, have we seen any pythons, and would they be in the trees, on the ground, or would they go to the dams? And Spike the crocodile, well, I guess any crocodile, asking whether they would fight or whether they would avoid each other, python versus crocodile. Well, first off, I can say no, I haven't seen any pythons, Linda. I haven't seen a python for a long time, actually, probably. Oh, gee. When was Paula here? October. Gosh, it's been a year. The last python I saw. Trees or the ground? Well, it depends. Here in South Africa, I have to be honest. Here in South Africa, I haven't noticed pythons in trees as much as I have in East Africa. In fact, only in one place in East Africa where huge marshlands get filled with elephants. The python in these marshes, and it estivates in the Acacia tortillasis, in the umbrella thorn trees. And when you know where there is a python, you can go by there every single day and you can see them. And sometimes they eventually get to be slaying their skin, shedding their skin. So there, yes, they spend time in trees when they're not active. Pythons, however, hunt on the ground. No, I lie. Actually, not I'm lying, I'm forgetting. But I've actually seen pythons at home in the Timbavati hunting in trees. But they spend more time on the ground. You most likely find these are very rare that a python will actually actively hunt. Where are my far lookers? Oh, nice one, Mark. Jeez, spilled my tea all over me. Out of a mug that's supposed to be spill proof. Now I'm wet. Hello, Zumi. And with the honey in my tea, I'm probably going to be sticky too. Okay. Very well. Python versus crocodile. There's an interesting one. Because that it all depends on size, Linda. I've seen photographs. What was it? Film. I think it was just photographs of a python that ate a crocodile. Kill the so if the crocodile is small enough and the python is big enough, the python will win. I don't think any of these reptiles will be out today. Oh, there's a water thickening. There was an interesting photograph out of the Everglades of a python. Now pythons are becoming quite a problem in the Everglades because they're being released by own people who've had them as pets. You know, a place like North America has got to tighten up on its exotic pet rules. I don't know how many accidents have to happen before the government realizes that exotic animals are not pets, and the average human being in suburbia hasn't the faintest idea about animal husbandry. But Burmese pythons and African rock pythons are running free around the Everglades, growing to exceptional lengths because they're finding ideal conditions, playing havoc with the wildlife in the Everglades. Evidently there was this python once that took on an alligator, and somehow something must have happened. Alligator might have been too big, alligator must have done something inside the python. I don't know how this worked, but the python actually burst open. It's called biting off more than you can chew, in a manner of speaking. Maybe today's our lucky day for a python. Now I'm really surprised we don't see more snakes. And I don't know whether it is the particular vibration of this vehicle or what it could be, because there are a lot of snakes here. And especially in the last couple of weeks, that they're starting to become active again. We should have seen many of them. In the past I've seen many snakes. We're wandering north on Gari Cut Line now. Solala's up near Torchwood Dam. Oh, they might come. That's interesting. Torchwood Dam, if they come west. Alright, here's an animal I don't think I've got on my list yet. Thank you, Robin and Jack. Robin came back. Jack Lemons. Ringneck turtle dove. And Jack was saying Cape turtle dove. Robin, ringneck dove. Thank you very much. All very well putting something on a list as it appears in the bird book, but it'd be nice to have it in alphabetical. Cape turtle dove. I don't know if the ringneck turtle dove is actually an official name. Ringneck dove. Okay, Taurus had that the other day, saying it is. little boy's horns just coming out. So the Tsalalas are on Torchwood Dam. Tsalalas have this habit, especially in this kind of weather, they'll lie down for a while and then they'll walk, unless they catch something. So I think as the morning wears on, we'll move to the east, just in case they decide to move to the west. Thank you, Cam. Waterbuck. Down in New Orleans. Brent is in New Orleans. Hello, little Waterbuck. Cam identified you, do you know that? Can't fool her. Brent is asking about not ants, just wasps and bees. Doesn't recall us ever talking about them. Gee, Brent, I could talk for the next 3 hours about bees and wasps. Fantastic insects. Interesting thing about insects in general is that, or insects and arachnids and the smaller little things, you know, the different continents might have very, very different animals, mammals, but when it comes to insects, a lot of them are very, very similar, if not perhaps the same even. In some cases, just different species, same genus, same family. So the bees and the wasps that we have here in Africa are not that much different to bees and wasps that you get everywhere else. The one thing we don't have in Africa are hornets. We do have a number of different, like those giant hornets in Japan. Our paper wasps are very similar to the hornets. Bees, well, we have only excuse me, only a couple of species of social bees, communal bees, the African honeybee being one of them, the mocha bee or mapani bee, which is a very tiny stingless bee, is another. Excuse me. But the majority of the bees that we have are solitary bees, and I would probably say that the majority of them are also stingless bees. Some of the big carpenter bees have got a pretty nasty sting. They're also solitary. And they drill perfectly round holes into tree trunks, any wood that they can find. In fact, 2 days ago I saw my first carpenter bees buzzing around the workshop, drilling into the rafters. And give it a couple more years, those rafters are going to look like cheese, and the roof's going to rain, because they drill pretty big holes. Now it's quite common for the lodges that build for the buildings in some of the lodges in the old days, you used to use either bush willow or leadwood trunks to use as poles to hold up the roof. And of course, over time, there are not that many leadwood poles to go around, so they started using other poles that insects can get into. I'll never forget one lodge. I can't remember what poles they must have used to build the main patio, the main dining kitchen area, huge thatched complex. And these beautiful big poles on the patio, not poles, they were tree trunks. And the carpenter bees used to build their nests in there, and especially the ones that were child height. And children would look at these holes and they'd put their fingers in, and I'd say, don't put your finger in the hole, because if there's a bee in the hole, the bee goes in forwards and its sting points backwards, and if anything touches it, it'll sting you. And 99.9% of the time the kid would get stung. Because when you say don't put your finger in the hole, it's maybe more of an incentive for the child to put their finger in the hole. Carpenter bees are very much like your bumblebees. They look almost identical. They're the same size, big, heavy bees. Related to the bees, well, the bees and wasps are related, and the other relative of theirs are the ants. Ants, wasps and bees. And believe it or not, there is a pretty hard, it's pretty hard to get to draw distinct lines between where, say, the ants stop and the wasps begin, and in some cases where the wasps stop and the bees begin. You can't really confuse any, and certainly confuse wasps and ants. And in some cases wasps and bees. And ants, very much like wasps, most of the ants carry a sting. Then that line is blurred even further when you get the wingless wasp, because you get a number of wasp species that don't have wings. Some species of wasps, the females don't have wings, but the males do. And some of the wasps look exactly like some of the ant species. Obviously they're solitary, because we only get a couple of commercial, or rather commercial, no, they're not commercial, they're communal. Number of communal wasp species. But most of them are solitary, and some of the wingless wasps look very much like ants. We get a little red one that looks like a little red ant. Quite incredibly. Now this is where it gets very... For most species of ants, you get a spider that preys on them, and the spider looks exactly like the ant. One of these days I'll show you some photographs of ant mimics, and I love watching them. I think they're one of the most interesting creatures to watch, because you can, if you find an ant mimic, you get almost guaranteed to see it hunting and killing an ant. But quite incredibly, you also get wasp mimics. Now the little red wingless wasp that I was talking about that looks like an ant, you also get a little salticid spider that looks exactly like that wasp. And of course it preys on that wasp. Cindy, are the carpenter bees related to the termites? Not at all, Cindy. Nowhere near it. They're about as closely related to termites as elephants are to lions. Avarice consume the wood. Carpenter bees don't. Carpenter bees merely drill into it to create nesting. And it obviously must be a legume, but I don't know, I can't remember what it is. I'll have to look it up again. I've got to find one now. Or go back to the one I saw. So I saw one and I thought, oh, they're going to be out again, and there was only one. Thought I would see more. There are a number of creatures or insects that burrow into wood, and none of which are related to each other. I mean, there are beetles that do it too, and the larvae of those beetles that actually do consume the dead wood, but still have no relationship to termites whatsoever. It is quite sticky this morning. Humidity wise. Pachyderm prints. Hello, Linda Brown. Hello, Linda. Saying lion were calling it in Koro last night, and that she thinks she saw the young Styx male. That'd be interesting, Linda. Thank you for that. Be interesting to know if it was little Styx boy. I wonder if it's not maybe the Talalas that are up on Torchwood that might have been calling. Oh. Hello, Melva Ann. It's so nice to have you back. I'm really sorry to hear about your loss. Melva Ann had a bit of a disastrous last few weeks. Saying she hopes we don't have fire ants. No, we don't, Melva Ann. Not fire ants. We do have a couple of ant species that have pretty bad stings, but nothing on the scale of the fire ants. We get two types of army ants, or two species of ants that are both called army ants, although they're completely different in appearance. One is very big and black and preys on termites. And they have a sting, and if you get caught in the middle of a column of those and they get angry, you can come away with multiple stings. Interesting though, they're rather timid ants, and they're not very aggressive. They're aggressive if you stand on them, and I suppose you force them to become defensive. But I've put my bare foot in the path of a column of marching army ants, and they go around it. And then when you find the scouts running around on their own away from the colony, you probably would have to, well, you'd probably battle to get it to sting you, because they're very timid. They're trying to hide away. And they're probably one of the biggest ants we get here. They've got to be all of maybe half an inch, a third to half an inch in size. Now, what resembles the fire ants in Africa are another type of army ant that we call siafu, or the driver ants. and they might look like the fire ants, but they don't have a sting. They bite. They don't have any venom or anything, but the bite is still painful. Oh, hello, kudu. Where's the rest of your crowd? Hello, Mrs. Kudu. Nancy, hello. The hair on a waterbuck, is it soft or coarse? Can't remember the last time I've touched a waterbuck. The only time I would have touched a waterbuck was when it was killed by a lion, and then they left it. That was a long time ago. Otherwise, I'd say I'd have to guess there, Nancy. The one thing about me despite having lived almost all my life in the bush and around animals, I haven't had physical contact with any of these animals in terms of petting or touching. Like being asked what an elephant's skin feels like, I don't know. Well, I mean, I sort of know, but the one time that I did touch an elephant, circumstances were a little strange for me to acknowledge the texture of its skin at the time. I was a little bit more concerned with other things at the time. But I've never really touched any of these animals. I mean, I've never touched a lion. I don't know what a lion feels like. Never touched a waterbuck. I know I've touched waterbuck carcasses. Looks soft. I'd say maybe the youngsters it's softer, and then maybe as they get older it becomes a little bit more coarse, perhaps. What have we got coming out of Buffelshoek? Nothing. Zebra. Nothing. We got zebra coming out of Buffelshoek. Let's get onto the fire break and then make our way to Sydney's Dam, and then I don't know, we just wander around. Nobody was walking here either. Jacques or Mark? Wrong person. Oh, look. Hello. The little boy and the mother and the little girl. And looks like she's maybe gonna have more little ones soon. There in the background. I don't think I got this on my list. No, I don't. Okay, who's first with the emails? That would have been last year's youngster, this little one. Down on its wrists. Feeding. And that's Mom there in the background. She doesn't look like a very big one. And I'm thinking that she might be a sibling of this young male. Let me move forward a bit. Interesting that they're quite relaxed. And so often these little animals run away from us. Okay, so she's probably Mom. So this little boy, I'm just looking at her now. She's quite an old lady. That. So he would maybe be a previous litter, not a sibling. Unlikely that he'd be a mate. And often youngsters from the previous litter stick around to help out, but his tusks are looking a little bit too big to be the previous litter, so it's hard to tell the dynamic here. Thank you, Sally. Sally. First one back with the warthog. Well, that was too easy. Let's step it up a notch. Oh, hello Linda again. Interesting question. With my interest in insects, what about flies? Funny you should ask that, because there are some flies that are quite interesting. There are a number of interesting species of flies, and their name or their reputation is sullied by the incessant behavior of domestic house flies, Musca domestica, the house flies, and some of the biting flies like tsetse flies, or flies like mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are flies. And some of the horse flies. So there are a few flies that are pests that cause us a little bit of stress and cause sense of humor failure, and are not the best insects to have around. But there are perhaps even more species of flies that are very interesting, and I think one of the most fascinating flies for me are the hoverflies. And I've had some pretty amazing moments with hoverflies. Hoverflies have this long, straight proboscis, and like a hummingbird they can hover above a flower or next to a flower and suck the nectar from it. And down in the Cape, actually, some of the hoverflies that feed on ericas. Ericas are a huge family of flowers, and some of the most beautiful flowers down in the Cape. Ericas worldwide, you find them everywhere, but the floral kingdom down in our Western Cape is quite unique, and some of the ericas and the proteas that we have down there have very specific creatures that pollinate them. And there's a particular hoverfly, whose proboscis is probably about 3 inches long compared to the 1/4 inch of the fly. Of the fly itself. Very interesting insects. Other interesting flies, the stalk-eyed flies are interesting. I had one in FC the other day, funny enough. Was totally blown away. I was directing a drive and a stalk-eyed fly landed on my hand. Warthogs are capitalizing on this lovely green grass that's coming up. So let's leave them to it. Bye bye children. Mind the cats. Some flies, the only good purpose they serve is that they feed spiders or other insects and mantises, that they just become food for other insects and arachnids and reptiles. Morning, Allison, in Missouri. Hello, Impala. Allison wants to know why the warthog was on its wrists, walking and feeding. Comfort, Allison. Gets its food and its face in the same place, but it doesn't have to physically bend down or stretch its neck. It's a sign that it's comfortable. It's a sign that there's no danger. When they do feed on their wrists, they don't always do so, but something that they have just adapted to do, and they have that wrist joint that is able to fold back. They have these calluses, these very, very hard outer wrists that allow them to do that. They're even born with that sort of callus on the wrist to be able to go down onto what for some looks like their knees. What are you looking at, ladies? The other impala? Or are you looking at something else? Oh, no, she stopped it. She's running away. Okay, never mind. I think she was just looking up at the other impala. how big? Sorry. How big are the litters they have? Oh, okay. Hi, Barbara. How big a litter do they have? I'd say up to 4. I think I've known to maybe have more, but I've only really mostly observed 4 piglets, up to 4 piglets. They don't have a huge litter like domestic pigs. So how was that dancing last night? Wow, that was quite amazing. Hello, Minerva. Are warthogs related to feral pigs? Yes, they are. Hello, children. Let's quickly look at the dam. I'm just going to pause now, just in case we lose signal. Thing doing, yeah. That's Sydney's dam. Dave. Hello, Dave. Do warthogs have top and bottom teeth? Yes, they do. Are you meaning tusks or molars, premolars? I've got a couple of warthog skulls at home that I've had from leopard kills around my house that I've found. But I don't have a warthog skull here. Maybe I can find one. At Yuri's, or at the, not museum, but maybe there's one at the lodge. But yes, they do. And even tusks. What we don't see, it's quite interesting, is when we're looking at the tusks of a warthog, one doesn't see the lower canines that are self-sharpening against the bottom of the upper tusk. So you get the upper tusk and you get a very much smaller lower canine. As the warthog chews, that lower canine rubs in a particular way on the bottom part of the upper canine, and it maintains it in a state of permanent sharpness. It's almost like a curved stiletto blade. It is incredibly sharp. Not only a sharp point, but the edge of it has also got quite a sharp edge to it, because it is constantly rubbing against that upper tusk. But yes, they have quite complex molars, premolars, that allow them to chew a variety of food sources, food types. What's the shouting, birds? Maybe maybe an owl somewhere, or another raptor. This is Sandy Patch North. We're about to go to Sandy Patch and Vuyatela Access Road, and maybe then I'll decide where we'll go from there. Could always have suggestions. Anybody want me to coming up? Give you 20 seconds. Send an email. Straight left or right? Actually, I can't turn right. Don't really want to turn left. So not this junction. I'll tell you next time. I want to go straight across this crossroad and down Impala Road. Hello, Deborah. Wondering if there are any bat species and where do they roost? There are a number of species of bats. Bats are probably one of the most widely distributed mammals, found on every continent. They will roost in not only holes in trees, but they some of the trees that die where the bark starts peeling away, they'll roost behind the bark. I don't get them here, but there was a species of bat that I used to see every time I went on a walk. Well, it was every day just about. And on my walks I could almost guarantee finding the particular yellow-winged bat, because they would roost in very thick acacia bushes. It's been raining here. Oh, I want you on my list. Schlegger my fuzz. Get them. Sorry, who was that? Oh, Vivian. I don't think we're going to get that one today. Is it? Oh, there it is. That's only one of them. We should have the whole family. It's okay, I have no doubt I'll see them again in the next... soon enough. I'd like to make sure we can get a decent look at them. But what I wanted to show you, here's a knobthorn that has died, and you can actually see in sort of halfway up this tree, you can see how that bark has come away. In fact, in some places it's even an inch or two away from the main trunk. And it's places like that that the bats will roost. Obviously also with human habitation, and they love roofs and rafters and bats have this uncanny ability of being able to get into the tiniest of places. So, well, as Tara was mentioning a while ago, there were some bats in the roof in FC that were driving her crazy. Bats in her roof. And you'll find that bat boxes are made very similar to the way the bark is forming on the tree. Bat boxes, basically just a long narrow slit with an entrance underneath. Vivian wants to know about the prickly pear on Albury's Road. I don't know if it's been taken care of. I think it's probably still there, Vivian. Speaking of which, I found a huge one at home, and I don't know how I'm going to get rid of it. How often when I find it at home, I pull them out, because their roots, you can get these long roots, and you've got to get the root out, otherwise it throws up a new cladode. And I tie them to a tree upside down so that they can dry out. And I've got, in fact, there's some at my gate that I took out about 3 years ago, and they still got a little bit of green on them. They haven't dried out completely, but they're very, very hard to eradicate. There we go, another perfect example of where bats could live. This was a knobthorn that was pushed over. And as the tree dies, you can see how this bark dries and curls away from the trunk. So you don't really need necessarily a hole in a tree. That kind of situation is ideal for bats. End of the tree cut because it was pushed over the road, or pushed, I guess, over the road. Had to be cut off of the road. Oh, Impala Road. I love this road actually. Can't see more than maybe a kilometre, so we can forget about seeing the mountains today, which are about 100 kilometres away. Sometimes we see them. Good to see them after some rain when it clears the sky. Hello Heather. How's Heather tonight? Heather's saying the moose also go down on their wrists to get to the lawn, to get to the short grasses. That's interesting. I didn't know that moose did that. Thank you for that. Hello Leanne, Memphis, Tennessee. Walking in Memphis. With my feet 10 feet off a bill. There's a bird. That bird. Okay, there's a bird. Thanks Seb. Hello bird. What's your name, bird? Don't you dare move, bird. Not until we get a name for you. I like that song. I think it was Mark Con. Gone already. I'm sure some of our birders saw that. Love that song, Walking in Memphis. Warthogs, do they run? They run with quick bursts of speed or with side to side motion. And their legs, are they thin for agility and speed? And yes to all of the above. They do run very fast, short bursts. In fact, they can maintain it for good enough little distance. And yes, they will run in a straight line or zigzag. It depends on where the predator is and how far it is behind them. But yes, piglets, I've seen piglets, gosh, able to zip around so fast. So they are able to change direction very quickly on the trot. Well, more than the trot, on the sprint. Has anybody been walking on this road? Yeah, this is about the best place on the road to see it. Lovely soft sand. There looks like good one. Looks like one of Karula's children. Yep, that looks like one of the children. So I wonder, maybe we need to go back or around on the power line and come back this way. See the tracks further back on Impala Road, so maybe it's lying up somewhere, we missed it. Bit of hiss on the getting hitting on both roads. But up. Here you go.
You drive past me, I locate the thing where you are talking that you stop there and reverse back and right here.
Copy, thanks. Confirm which side?
On the western northern side from where you are. Drive back,
Well,
you can see the drive, the front tree, and right quickly.
thanks, Abel. We drove past it. Yeah, one of Carol's children. I would have to choose the bumpiest place to turn around. Oh, sorry, Seb. Whoosh. There.
What was that guy saying?
Xivindzi.
What was he saying that was so funny?
That I drove past him and
Okay.
I'm looking at tracks and the leopard on the road, and here's the leopard. And now I've said it, I can't use it for my checklist. Actually, I would say that the tracks there are maybe Xivindzi. There I can see a tail. Just a matter of trying to get in there somehow. There she goes. Oh, pretty thick stuff here. Going to a termite now. It's cutting across this way now. No, just for now, because I've got to get around it. Can you see her through there?
Yeah.
Just for now. Okay, now we're going to try to get around there. Try and go through here. Oh, beautiful. She's on that log. I think she's looking for a mother. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That clear shot, Seb. I can smell the resin bush that I just squashed. A little bit of it. Very strong scent of it. Hey, pretty girl. Interesting one. What preys on bats? Funny you should ask that. We've got a bird here in South Africa, although the chances of seeing one here aren't very good. I doubt whether it's even on the list. There's a raptor here in Africa. I've seen them in East Africa. I haven't seen one here in South Africa. In fact, not far from Hoedspruit, which is one of our closest towns, there's another town about another 100 kilometers further on called Zanin. There's quite dense forested areas there, and there's and it's called the bat hawk, and the bat hawk is known to be endemic to that particular, well, not endemic, but bat hawks are famous for, no, let me rephrase this. The Zanin area is famous for being a place to see bat hawks. But apart from the bat hawk, there are other raptors. Some of the raptors that do hunt, that have crepuscular hunting habits, hunting at dusk and dawn. That I've seen goshawks go after bats. I'm sure the falcons do too. Little girl's waiting for mom. Looking for brother, perhaps. Snakes eat bats. Some snakes eat bats. We did see a hornbill eating a bat last year outside our kitchen. but I don't think that is a regular occurrence. Yellow-billed hornbill battling to swallow a bat. I'm sure if they found them, they would probably eat them. You see, some of our insect-eating bats are very small, and they're tiny little things. I see. I must bring some skulls from home. Show you a bat skull. If I could get my museum up from Cape Town, I could show you the skulls of the fruit bats, the lovely big Pemba Island fruit bats, which are like flying foxes in East Africa. They're about the size of a crow, maybe even bigger than a crow. Similar to the Comores fruit bat. Josie Jones, thank you Josie for the crested barbet. They've got a lovely song, the crested barbets, and it's quite incredible. I've had times when I've lived with crested barbets and you hear them singing a competition, the males. They try and outdo each other. Related to the woodpeckers, and the barbets also drill into wood. They're not related to termites. Either. Where would that be on the list? It will be around the woodpeckers. Kingfishers, bee-eaters, rollers, hornbills, woodhippoos, barbets. I still think that's quite funny. I must ask Abel if he saw me looking at those tracks in the road. Hello, Amber. How often does Karula have to make a large kill to keep the cubs fed? Difficult to give you a figure, but it's you could say probably every 3 days or so. I mean, there wouldn't be that kind of frequency because she could kill something. Also, it depends on the size of the kill. But let's say it's impala. I mean, we've known them to feed on impala for 3 days sometimes, and then spend maybe another 3 days not having anything. But in between that, I mean, the other day we saw Xivindzi caught a Franklin, and that was probably in between kills. And that's what happens with leopard, is that they don't necessarily wait to have a large kill. They're opportunists, so they're very often times that they'll eat something small. I mean, she could chase a lizard or a squirrel or a francolin, and that would be enough to sustain her for a little while. That's the wonderful thing about leopards, and it's one of the things that makes leopards so successful, is that they are so instinctive when it comes to chasing something, that when it comes to anything that moves, they'll go for it, and if they get it, they'll eat it and try. We saw her trying to get a monitor lizard last week, and obviously this is something that she's had to learn, that maybe it's not a good idea to go for a monitor lizard again, because it's not easy. The amount of energy trying to get into the monitor lizard was starting to outweigh the amount of energy she was going to get back in the process. And we saw that the other day, a few days ago, with that starling and the frog. Same kind of story. Animals have a defense. Just because something's either big and hairy and got tooth and claw, or if it's got a very sharp beak like the starling, doesn't mean to say that it is going to be successful and that it's going to kill and eat whatever it tries to get. And she's not likely to go for a monitor lizard again, having learnt that, or having had that experience. But other lizards she might eat, even odd snake, anything that moves. Something were to rustle through the grasses now, she'd chase it in a heartbeat. And that is what will sustain them in between larger kills. And you find leopards living in places where there are no large mammals, yet they survive quite well. And that would be on a diet of insects and birds and reptiles and small mammals, because leopards are able to do that. But I suppose to answer the question, anything up to once a week, a large mammal would be enough to sustain them. One large mammal a week, or as frequent as one large mammal every 2 or 3 days. Especially these growing children, they're getting quite big now, and you'll see when the Shark, what happened to Zangala on Torchwood? Okay, thanks. Anything else this morning?
Just a couple of them Combi and opposite one in Combi and but a fire break of Torchwood, just a couple of your options supported.
Yoga? Okay, I wasn't copying too well. Confirm where about? Gate or Impala Plains?
Yeah, somewhere between there. The last one was that going north, so there might pop up there somewhere.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, I'm busy. I'm with an Ingwe in that lock at the moment.
Where is that?
One young female of Karula, Xivindzi.
Where about?
Just off Triple M, north of Impala Plains. Sunshine's coming through the cloud, giving the leopard a golden glow, and just love that colour when the sun does come through. Look at that pretty little girl. Riding the tree, guiding the planet through the universe. Looks like that could be a fungus just under her right elbow. Thanks, Penny. Penny talking about witnessing African goshawks coming out in a particular time, very narrow window when the bats emerge, that perfect time of the day when bats come out, still light enough for the goshawks to hunt. And yeah, seeing bats being taken in front of them at a place called Ngwenya down on the Crocodile River, I think it is. And often bats that fall to the ground they can fall prey to just about anything, even ants. Bats on the ground, a lot of times, well, bats can't take off from the ground. Most bats, very, very few species. Most bats have to climb up something and drop to be able to take off and fly. And I've often had to rescue bats from the ground. And obviously, once a bat is on the ground, it's fair game for anything from ants to cats, snakes. I'm sure monitor lizards have their fair share of bats. Rock monitor, tree monitor, the white-throated monitor, not so much the Nile monitor. And see how she's registering with that Franklin calling to our left. That ear turned and bent straight in that direction. She even frowned, almost as though the loud noise was too loud. Thanks, Abes. There was some Konzo here on Impala Road for I think maybe Adampam Pimpan heading north.
Okay, thanks.
Are you going to look for my Dutch?
I'll put it inside somewhere there.
Copy, thanks. Should we try and go around there? Because We're going to have other vehicles come in. I want to get to a better position. Well, might be nicer from that side. Allison, hello Allison in Missouri. How old is she? Is going to be a year old next month. She is about 3 weeks away from 1 year old. That's what I want to see from this. Look at that. Beautiful. Just too gorgeous. Here I go. Just on and off, probably about 50 meters off the road. Yeah, at this stage lying up on a fallen knob thorn. Not that I know of. I think Jacques coming in, and then it'll only be 2 on lock. Yeah, firm. It might be on Tortured with Ngala. There we go again. Yeah, should be. Seb? Okay. I'll keep you posted if she moves. Yeah, firm. Hey, why has it gone blue? You just gone past me. How can you be on the northern or the southern side of a road that goes north to south? gotta just move a little bit so Jacques can get in here as well. Morning. There were some tracks on the road heading north of the other one. I think the other one could be her. One of them was seen in camp yesterday. One sometimes wonders how cats can be comfortable the way they lie. And it's not only leopard. I've seen lion, cheetah, even domestic cats lying in a position where you just have to wonder how they could possibly be comfortable. But I guess she is. She's found quite a neat little spot there. Even got a cushion. Ears suddenly went forward. She's looking at something. Maybe it was Karula that was at camp yesterday, last night. Hello, Alison. Interesting question. Going back to the bats. It's one of those interesting things. Alison's asking, is that why that bats hang upside down so that they can drop and go in flight? I don't know if I could say that that's why they hang upside down. I'd say that it does facilitate easy takeoff. But perhaps it's just the way that they've evolved, the way that they've adapted to the kind of life that they live. I mean, I'd say the main reason why they hang upside down is because their hands are wings. And I suppose the two go hand in hand. You know, if they were to be hanging from, because they do have a claw on their one finger, which is halfway along their wing, that they use to clamber about. But I suppose in a way it has developed that way, that they do hang upside down, so it makes for easy takeoff. Anybody can ID that bird falling in the background, which is stopped now. Randy. But the reason that bats hang upside down have something to do with blood flow to the brain. No, I don't see it. We are zoomed in on the face. Can you zoom in on the face?
Zoom in, Max. It's all the way.
Well, that's about as close as we can get to the face at the moment. Yeah, Randy, I don't know what to say about bats hanging upside down and blood flow to the brain. I mean, I can't comment on that at all. I'd have to read up on that and to see. But I don't think that has much to do with that, why they hang upside down, because they would have to adapt. Obviously, the brain would have to have there'd have to be some mechanism for the brain to be able to cope with a bat hanging upside down. But I wouldn't say that that's the reason for it. Pointless taking photographs because they just come out blur. Light's a little bit flat, I think. Hey, Seb?
Yeah, very dull. Just need a bit of sun rays.
Well, some more of that leopard light, but the cloud's actually getting a little bit thicker. We are in for some weather over the next 2 or 3 days. It's going to get up. No, she's not too comfortable. Nice stretch. Oh. Hello, Teddy. California. Are they about fully grown now? Not quite, Teddy. Oh, look at that. Wow. Stretching every inch of her spine. No, I think they've still got a while to go. Give them another year. Penny. Hello, Penny. Is that a wild duck seed in front of her nose? No, that's actually a wild foxglove, I think. No, it's one of the hibiscuses, not the wild foxglove.
A couple of dead sticks there next to the road. There was a nice gap that I came through. Coming now.
That's one of the Malvasia, one of those tall
Maybe I'll make some space for you. You can pop in.
types of wild hibiscus that we'll be seeing. There is a type of Leonotus or wild ducker that has small enough seed like that, but most of them are a lot bigger. It would be about the size of a paw. Pouring in Durban. Well, we often get the rain after Penny gets it in Durban, so tomorrow Tara might.
Okay, Ryan, actually, I'm going to keep the block there. My phone says that the road is right there.
Might be best to maybe just move a little bit.
Why?
Well, because Jacques only had 2 people, it was easy enough. Ryan's got a full vehicle.
Why don't you park just like that?
I'm gonna go in, that's what I'm gonna do. Frank. Frank wants me to move on. Spotted things not moving. Sorry, Frank, my decision. Spotted things got a brother somewhere close by and a mother that might be coming back soon. And it's the kind of day that we have today. Is not much else moving around, and I'd rather sit here for a little while longer and see. White shirts on safari. Just a note, when you do come on safari, please don't bring white shirts. But I'd like to see, very, very often we sit with cats and they might be sleeping, but cats can go from inactivity to activity in the blink of an eye, and it takes a little patience. Her ears are tuned into almost every sound. She's just waiting to hear from her mother, or she's waiting to hear something maybe moving in the grasses. That's like a Karula look.
Yeah.
Like if she was wearing bifocals, she'd be looking over her glasses. The thing is, nothing else has been found on Western Gowrie this morning. The pack of dogs are supposedly moving up towards this part of the world, and well, I'd just like to stick around a little while longer. We might not be disappointed. We might. Well, can't be disappointed because we've got a leopard. But we might not be disappointed in something might be happening. I'm not getting anything, Tara. Sorry to cut you off, but all I'm getting is crackling. It's amazing. Amazing how the difference in a couple of feet is made in the radio. But I'm suddenly not hearing you at all. Always try channel 4. Might be clearer, different frequency. Now you look at me, little girl. There's some Prineas shouting and Cisticulas shouting. I can't quite figure out whether it is. Anybody know that call? Frank might get his wish. Maybe we should move on.
What's that, Mark?
No, I'm saying Frank who wanted us to move on. I'm saying he might get his wish. Might be time to move on. You can hear that hornbill flapping around in the tree. Okay. Let's yeah. Let's move on. Bye. Station's leaving a lock, 1 Mampimpan Ingwe, Ryan on lock. Later, dude.
Texan come in. Okay. Morning and 4. Is anybody else going to that Ingwe?
I think what we can do is go back up Impala Road.
Coming from Mark.
Always a difficult choice when you're with a cat and the cat isn't doing anything, whether to stay there and twiddle thumbs until it does something. perfect weather for dogs to be running around. And they were southwest of us coming northeast, so well, remote possibility. The dogs on the move in this weather, you've got to have the timing and the place just perfect. Got to be in the right place at the right time when they're coming across the road, when they're on the run, or whether they're running along a road, to be on the right road. Just getting take the power line back to Vuitella Access Road, and then we'll do a big loop and come back this way. Maybe we'll see Shibambalana, one of these termite mounds. Okay, radio should be fine now, Tara. Oh wait, go back to one. Right, I'm on one. I was on 4. Thanks, Frank. Okay, well, let's go see what else is around. Bit of a compromise there. Teddy in California, they're a weather website for the Sabi Sand. There is Teddy. There are a number of international websites. You just have to punch in the right coordinates. AccuWeather is a good one. SA Weather is another. Weather Underground is another. You could try punching in Hluvukani, Hluvukani, Hluvukani. I don't know. Sipiwe used to be able to get Dixie weather. Dixie's closer. D-I-X-I-E. Dixie. But I don't think you'd be able to put in the Sabi Sand. There's not really anything in the Sabi Sand that you could put in on a weather channel, or rather a weather site search, and it would recognize it. Some of them recognize Hluvukani, one or two recognize Dixie as a well. But if I had the coordinates in my head, maybe some of the weather channels you can put in, I think you can put in coordinates to give you weather from there. But this is a fairly large weather cell that's moving up, so I reckon you could, if you had to, Skukuza. We're a little bit north of Skukuza, so whatever weather's going through Skukuza, I suppose you could say would be coming through here. S-K-U-K-U-Z-A, Skukuza. A lot of things, names might sound strange and sound difficult, but a lot of it is phonetic, and very seldom do you get different sounds on the vowels. If you have the same vowel in the same word, or rather the same vowel in a word, it normally has the same sound. In fact, in a number of African languages, vowels don't have different sounds. They all have the same. Not like for us, cat and cart. Short A, long A. Yes. See, yeah. It's hard to please everybody. Elizabeth wanted to stay because she hardly gets to see the cats. Well, I tell you what, we're going to drive around a little bit. Gonna do a big figure 8, I think. I was gonna go back up to Impala Plains. I think let's go Zoe's Road and then loop back around on Impala Road and then go up to Sandy Patch. But well, this kind of weather tends to keep things hidden. That's a good point, dear. Thank you. Dear is just saying that the way to the bat pulls tendons that keeps the toes locked so that the bat doesn't physically have to grip anything. And bats, their toes actually got very sharp curled claws that help the bat to grip on whatever it is hanging on. And that of course takes all the weight off of the or any of the muscles, but also allows them to rest their arms, which are so important for them flying. And of course I didn't think of that, but it sounds logical that for an animal that's using its arms and its hands for flying and most of its activity, and bats do burn a lot of energy, it makes sense that it would rest by hanging by its feet so that it can rest its arms. Thanks, dear. Und Monika in Deutschland. Guten Morgen. Und wie geht's diesen Morgen? Dankeschön. Monica's saying the same, pretty much the same thing. It leaves them in a perfect position to launch them for flight because they're unable to do so like a bird that launches itself from the ground or a perch upwards. Bats launch downwards. Let's have a look at this termite mound. Starting to get some tunnels forming around the base of it. Looks like they've been quite busy at some work. So I would hazard a guess and say, you can see the new workings on this termite mound. We can't really see some of it on the main pinnacle, but they're starting to raise some of these little chimneys. And if we get a thunderstorm, this is where they're going to be launching. These are launch pads for their winged reproductives. Now when a termite mound gets as big as this, making one entrance at the top to launch their reproductives is not enough, so they make multiple little chimneys. And well, here's an insect as well. It doesn't take off very easily from the ground. The winged termites, the winged reproductives of the termites, they've got very, very large wings, and they can't flap them enough. They can't, if they're on the ground, their wing flap can't take it through the horizontal down to the negative. So they can't flap their wings properly. So they need height as well to lift off. Once they've flown, of course, they lose their wings. Then they need to be in a place where they can burrow and start a new colony. Oh, here's a new question, or rather new person. Turn down, okay, so close a little bit. Hello Mark in Salt Lake City. Where's that? Utah? Isn't that Utah? Leopard question. Do the children have private calls to each other and different calls to their mother? So the Xivindzi and Xivindzi have a particular call to each other and then a different call to their mother. Excuse me. I would imagine that there is a subtle difference, Mark. Excuse me. A bit of a frog in the throat today.
So, not sure what was going on.
Hang on a sec.
Mine has left on that intersection. I don't know who's there now. And if you got that small radio, can you try to use that one? I can't hear you, nothing.
Okay, sorry, listening to the radio. Don't need to respond, someone else is. Okay, what we want even a bird right now. Oh, there's a nice question. I think this is from Sweden, isn't it? Peter in Sweden. Hello, Peter. The smallest and and biggest bird in Juma. I always remember you got to turn off of the road so that the mast misses that tree, and then you hit that hole. Yeah. So the smallest, well, the largest bird, Peter, is easy. We get vultures. Listen to me. Ostrich have been seen here, so we can. Sure, whoever's going to see an ostrich in the next 25, 8, whatever many days, is going to be lucky. But we have seen ostrich. They do occur here in Kruger. We don't exactly have ostrich habitat, but we do have ostrich that have come through. We have had ostrich passing through from time to time on the odd occasion. So I'd say that's the largest bird. The smallest bird would have to be one of the sunbirds, I reckon. I think the sunbird smaller than the firefinch or the waxbill would be maybe the white-bellied sunbird would be the smallest. Cape Penduline tit. Yeah, but have we seen a Cape Penduline tit here? Is it even on our list? Tara's is helping me out here, saying that the Cape Penduline tit is the smallest bird, but I don't think it occurs here. In fact, that doesn't occur here. But I'm thinking, open for discussion. The bird is out there. Penny, what do you think? Smallest bird is a white-bellied sunbird, smaller than a firefinch, smaller than a blue waxbill, smaller than a crombeck, another small one. Oh, there's a flower. see it now?
Yep.
And the sun is kind of trying to break through, so I'm just going to take my jacket off quickly. Warming up a little bit. Pretty little flower. That is related to, well, it's one of the morning glories, but probably not Ipomoea, but Astropomoea, maybe. I don't know. I'm not too sure of this one. This yellow one. Let me see if I can. Which book should I look at? This one quickly. This has got a yellow morning glory. Otherwise, I was looking at my other book. Oh. Funny, there are no heliotropes this year. I had heliotropiums open all of summer last year, and you already had heliotropes open at home in the Timbavati, but none here. And the year before last we had lots of heliotropes. So let's see, Albivenia. No, it's not an Albivenia. White veined. I don't have it in this book, but it is one of them, one of the morning glories. Okay, let's go down to the den. Oops, sorry. Didn't realize this. Cicadas are starting to get loud. Well, once again, nobody home. But there's Charlie. Remember that song from the, when was it, the 70s? What, that big white thing? Quite a chunk of bone down there. Can't really tell what it is. Charlie! Welcome to our drives, Charlie. Seen pictures of the game drives. Question is, what is the purpose of the guy who sits in front in the seat? Well, he is known as a tracker. You see, the guide, boy, Drongo got really upset with a hornbill. While the guide is driving around and he's supposed to be talking to his guests and entertaining his guests and regaling them with stories of the bush and life in Africa, telling them about animals, answering their questions. So the person on front, the tracker, is the person who's not only looking for tracks of animals and following them, but also looking around for animals, because the guide is going to be, oh, there's a squirrel. Tara said she saw one. I haven't seen one yet. We normally have a couple that grow in the garden at camp. They haven't come up this year. There's one of them. Still trying to get a proper name for this thing. Quite an incredible plant. Stands about 1.5 meters tall. We're going to be seeing quite a lot of them. And all those little individual flowers that'll be opening up. I need a botanist. Was asked a question the other day. Who would I like to have in the seat next to me? And one of the people I said was Joe Ornestal. Or any botanist. Would love to have a botanist on the seat next to me. A number of things that I can't find. See, if when you're not a trained botanist, everything I know I've taught myself and I get from my books. And sometimes a book doesn't give me an idea of what it is, and I might make the wrong identification, because a book, although it'll give me sizes, a picture in a book doesn't really give me scale much, unless there's a plant or something next to it that I know how big it is. Kind of difficult in that respect. And that's one of them. There's another thing that I was calling Erginia sanguinea. It was the first thing that came out. Also a little, much smaller than that, but also just a little spike with flowers on it. It came out about 3 weeks ago, I think it was. They're not flowering anymore. But I once identified it as Erginia sanguinea, and I'm not even sure if it is that. I'm going to go back up north towards Sandy Patch. We'll do it on Impala Road again. Just in case. Just because. Maya in Vancouver. When an animal digs into a termite mound to make a burrow, are the termites still in there, or are they forced to leave? Very good question. Quite often the burrow, the hole in the termite mound has been made by an aardvark or something that's got in there to eat the termites. And sometimes you might find that the queen's chamber has been breached and that she's been eaten. The termites won't leave, they will die off. And I guess it's possible that you might still find termites living in a termitarium once an animal has moved in, but it won't be a colony at full complement. It might be a secondary or tertiary colony, and it's not likely to survive for very long. The holes that you find in termite mounds that get modified into burrows by porcupines or warthog or hyena, generally speaking, those termite mounds have been breached by something that has eaten the queen and the colony has been compromised. But no, the colony can't leave a termite mound and go and move into another one. Or it's another bird actually that's quite smaller, the cisticulars. Getting back to that question from Peter, we would have to look at size of bird, but also weight of bird. In terms of the smallest bird, would it be the smallest in terms of weight or the smallest in terms of size? Sorry, termite colonies. They don't survive very well with the size of a breach of something that's made a burrow into the termite mound. Was a parrot. There was a parrot. Hello JB, I'm not too sure I understand that question, but chimneys from the termite colony can be, gee, even 20 feet away from the main colony. Oh, look how big this baby's getting, this little baby crowned plover. Gee, in such a short time, look how big it is. And they were tiny a week ago. I've got crowned plover on the list, but I don't have that other thing over there on the list. We should be seeing them on open area near camp too one of these days. That's the baby crowned, getting so big. But beyond the crowned plovers there is another ground bird. No, I'm only seeing one little one running around. Oh, there's the other one. Good, both babies are here. What should we call these two? Laurel and Hardy. Or Ollie and... but no, those other two that I wanted, they've run off, so we'll have to try and find them another day. Okay. I want to just take a look down Triple M. Both ways. Thanks, Ed. Good point. Ed's reminding me to remind you that tomorrow morning times are a-changing. As you've noticed, not today, but on other mornings at 6 o'clock in the morning, the sun is well clear of the horizon, so it's time to start going out early. Much to this dismay of some. Where are these dogs? Supposed to be running around on this road. Oh, there's some impala up ahead, so the dogs are not necessarily there. Yes, from tomorrow morning we will be leaving at 6:30. No, 5:30. Listen to me. Confuse you even more. 5:30 Central African time tomorrow morning for our morning safari. And our PM safari will be leaving at 1600, 4 o'clock, 4 p.m. It would appear that we've sorted out the battery issue without having to get new batteries. For now, we seem to be having just fixed one connection that was fine. But with 12 batteries in series, there are many connections. So just one connection, if it's faulty, that has been what can cause the appearance of the batteries failing, or the impression that the batteries are failing. Okay, we're going to go head back up Impala Road to Sandy Patch. I believe Xivindzi moved off, I think, and Ryan lost her, I think. Might take a look, see. Oh, is that all? I've been dawdling. I just want to see flashes of white. Just flashes of white through the trees. Like if 20 dogs run around. Maybe this afternoon. So close I can feel them. Go away, fly. Henry, if you race off-road like that, you're not going to find a leopard if you ride around. Where's that radio? Henry, come in. Come in. Did you find that English? Anyone had any luck with the Dutch?
Yeah, Mark, I'm taking follow Flex Road. Please, I think Buffalo big gas line is
Thank you. Well, one more try on Triple M. Except I need a rearview mirror to see behind me while we're driving.
I'll check the back.
Okay, Seb's checking to the back just in case they're running around. Okay, sorry, I didn't quite understand any of that. Okay, and back in a radio area that's so difficult. Okay, just before I say goodbye, just coming past to see if Xivindzi's still here. So she's gone somewhere. Well, I guess not. She might not be very far from where we left her on that tree stump. But she's not on the tree stump now, and no sign of her. What was Caddy saying about, or Heiko saying about the plover? Three out of 5. Okay. 4 out of 5. No. Common something and little something. And size. I suppose it's an answer about bird sizes. It's funny, you were coming through fine, and as soon as you want to give me this question, it breaks up so much that I get 1 word out of 10. Let me get onto Impala Plains. Sorry, plovers. Just get past Lovers. Okay, quickly before we close down, what was Caddy saying? Common ringed plover and spotted kiwi laying the largest eggs in size, in relation to body size, I suppose. Thank you, Caddy. Anyways, well, from a little bit of a grey day here at Djuma, coloured by a leopard, a little bit of colour from our leopard. Other than that, one of those days, the weather's playing up, and so the weather plays up and not much happens in the bird world or the animal world. Having just said that, heard a crombeck behind me. My name is Mark. Seb has been on camera, Tara in final control. I'll be seeing you later today at 3:30 Central African time. From all of us here at Djuma, take care and goodbye. Thanks for joining us.
Hi everybody, this is Tara in Final Control. Thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, the dogs didn't make an appearance yet again. Here's hoping they will this afternoon. And it was wonderful to see Xivindzi. She really is playing up to the crowd. I'm definitely convinced she knows that we are loving watching her. But certainly the look of her mother. And hopefully Shivambalana might be around this afternoon too. Maybe even Karula herself. Let's hope. And maybe those clouds will lift and we'll have a little bit of a nicer day towards this afternoon. But it is still quite sticky. It's fairly humid, but a little bit of a wind. So we shall see what happens with the weather. But thank you very much for joining us. 3:30 Central Africa time is the start for the next live safari. Tomorrow the times will be changing. 5:30 for the morning drive and 4 o'clock for the afternoon drive. But that's for tomorrow. Today is still 3:30. But take care everybody and we'll see you again soon.